Welcome to Horror Cinema Obsession, the place where horror lives and breathes. I'm Richard.
And I'm Angeles. Every week, we dive deep into the dark heart of horror cinema, tackling a new film and dissecting the fear, the fun, and the fantastically odd.
We're here to explore it all, from the terrifyingly brilliant to the downright awful and everything that makes you scream, how the hell did this get made?
Expect a journey through the best and the worst, the iconic and the obscure,
as we share our love, our laughs, and sometimes our sheer disbelief at the world of horror.
So, get comfortable, or perhaps uncomfortable, and join us for Horror Cinema Obsession, where every flick has a story and every scare has its glory.
All right, welcome.
Hello.
All right, you guys ready to dive in? We got a pretty good one, I think, this week. Oh my gosh. So we're covering I Know What You Did Last Summer, a 1997 horror film. What are your initial thoughts on this?
It's a very cool teenage slasher movie. Hook slasher movie.
So going into this one, I'm going to be honest. I think being younger, seeing it had a bigger effect on me. Now it just, I don't know how I feel about it. It didn't really hold up. I want to say, and this is just riveting podcasting, but I felt bored throughout this movie, to be honest with you.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, the casting, great. We'll get into that. But just altogether, I feel like the story had a lot of plot holes. I was confused at times where I thought it made sense. I had this movie completely wrong the last 25 years since I seen this. I had it wrong. I had it totally wrong in my head.
I was trying really hard to follow the story and follow all the leads and all the clues to figure out who the killer was. And then at the end, I thought that there was going to be a big reveal being like, this is why. And it did not happen.
No. And there's I didn't realize the plot holes in this story, which we're going to get into, or at least maybe as the listeners, you guys can explain it better, but you'll hear us and our interpretation of this movie. We could be way off on this, and please let us know. But honest to God, I don't think we are, because we went back and forth with this. We did a lot of research and still came up with the same conclusions. Am I correct, Angeles?
Well, I'll get into it more, but I found one potential theory that was out there on the internet world of the why did it lead this way and the reason for why,
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
This guy he was on a revenge rampage.
He had a vendetta.
It kind of made sense, but it was not obvious watching the movie.
No. Okay, yeah. So this year was kind of a big year in the terms of cinema. We had some pretty big notable films that came out. We had Men in Black, which was huge. I know, being younger, this movie was the shit. I remember getting this on VHS Black Friday. My mom got it at 5 a.m. I watched that shit at 6 a.m. Stoked on the movie. I knew everything about it before I even saw it.
I liked it. I like Men in Black. I think I watched, how many are there now?
Oh God, 3 or 4. I know they have a remake with Thor and Thor's partner in the movies, the Thor movies. I forgot her name. But I think there's 3. I think number 3 kind of fell off for me on the Men in Black.
I don't know. There was one. I think I know what you're talking about. The third one. It was this. I can't remember his name, but the character, and he essentially had the entire universe in a Marvel. That was mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, no. So what's his name? Played a younger Tommy Lee Jones. Gosh, his name. You know his name. He plays Thanos in the Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
He plays a younger Tommy Lee Jones on that one, and it just, I don't know. The movie didn't really pan out for me. But again, I was older at the time. I think I was in my 20s, so it didn't hit. It didn't hit as it did in adolescent Richard's life. Other movies that came out, another big one, the follow-up to Jurassic Park, we had The Lost World, which was an awesome sequel, I think. I don't think it, like, as far as story goes, I don't know if it was that, like, it didn't hold up, but visually, it was still striking for the time. And then you have a more of a drama that put Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on the spectrum here of Hollywood, and that was Good Will Hunting.
It wasn't Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck was
It
in
was
it.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Whoa, we got our first conflict of the podcast, guys.
Look it up.
No, I will put money down on this, Angelus. Pull it up on your
The
smartphone.
main characters?
Let's look into cyberspace here and let's see what it says. Yes, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, I believe, wrote this.
Oh, wrote it.
And Ben Affleck starred in it.
Jake.
Jake Gyllenhaal is not in this movie.
Okay.
I swear to God. As she's looking that up, we also have L.A. Confidential, which starred Russell Crowe, I believe. That was a pretty good one.
I'm confused with a different movie.
What one were you thinking?
Brokeback Mountain.
You're off like by 10 years.
My bad. It has country and hunting and I don't know. Okay?
You're going off the title. Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. Okay, this is another one.
Brokeback Mountain was memorable.
And then, guys, 1997, if you remember our last podcast, we have the big one.
Titanic!
Angeles' favorite movie came out this year.
My favorite movie.
She's passionate about it, guys.
I watched it a handful of times.
Hey, I like it. We haven't seen it yet. I still am trying to watch it. Maybe we'll watch it tonight. So James Cameron came out with that beauty. And then also another Angeles favorite, The Fifth Element.
Dude, that movie was badass.
We might have to cover that on the pod. I know it's not horror, but it is horror adjacent in sci-fi. Like, what do you like about the movie? Because I know there's parts that I like. It's not my favorite, but I do find the movie entertaining.
That was my favorite. It's like futuristic. There's aliens. They're coming to destroy the Earth. Fucking cars are flying. You got houses like so towered up. And then this girl appears out of nowhere and she has the answers to save the world.
Mila Djokovic, I think, was the actress. Yeah, I mean, you know what I liked about The Fifth Element? And it's not even the movie. I like the fucking video game. We had it on PlayStation 1, and I loved that game. It was so crappy, like graphics-wise, but back in the day, it was the latest technology.
It was the latest technology.
Yeah, you were going to say something?
Yeah, there is another character, and The Fifth Element that was my favorite too.
Chris Rock?
Chris Tucker.
Oh, yeah, Chris Tucker.
Ruby Rod. That was a pretty
he was pretty good
character for that time.
He would have been coming off, I believe, Friday and done this movie. I could be wrong, or Friday was right after, but I think Friday was right before this movie.
And he had his fancy, creative, fucking costumes. With the tail and the microphone.
So those are pretty big movies and that came out this year. And I know what you did last summer held up pretty good. It was made, I believe, for $17 million. It had a $17 million budget. And then it grossed over $125 million worldwide.
That's a lot of dollars.
Yeah, so it was definitely profitable. But other horror movies that year, also, this was another big year for horror movies. We had Scream 2. We had Event Horizon, a scientific fiction horror film directed by Paul Wes Anderson, set in space aboard a starship, experiencing interdimensional travel and terrifying results. So the real reason I'm explaining that was a pretty good one. I think we'll see this in our future pods. We'll see a lot of these. Mimic, that's an icon for me. Anaconda was pretty huge.
Do you personally consider Anaconda a horror film?
I do.
You do?
I know you probably lived it, but I did not. I'm kidding. I tease.
I guess it was scary, but I see it more as a action movie.
So I get where you're coming with that. For me, the way I see it as a B-rated, like a super high budget B-rated horror movie. But it does have action elements, and I like that Ice Cube, he plays the same character as he does in all other Ice Cube movies. And he plays it perfectly, if I remember right.
J-Lo, and who was the bad guy?
Oh, it's I can't remember his name. What's her name? Gosh. Oh man, you guys are gonna hate us. The lady who married Brad Pitt, they got divorced.
Angelina
Yeah,
Jolie.
Angelina Jolie's dad is the character, and he has an accent in it. I don't know why they gave him like a Peruvian accent. Yeah, John Voight. They gave him an accent in it. He could have just been a normal dude and could have been the bad guy, but they made him super weird and over the top, which I think was a hindrance to that movie, if I remember right.
No.
But yeah, the rest of the horror movies that came out, we had The Relic, which isn't super mainstream, but I do think it has a cult following. I enjoyed it. Wishmaster certainly has a cult following, and Alien Resurrection, one of my favorite series in horror is Alien. So Alien Resurrection, I know it wasn't everybody's favorite, but I certainly enjoyed it. So it was a big year, really, in the movie.
The horror movie.
Yeah, well, just movie going experience.
Other movies that I found that came out in 1997, Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
Oh man, that one's a favorite of mine.
Kiss the Girls with Morgan Freeman and Ashley Judd. That movie was good.
What's it about? I can't remember it.
Ashley Judd gets kidnapped by Casanova. The Casanova guy.
Whoa.
Yeah, he kidnaps her, and then Morgan Freeman is a cop. He might work for the FBI. I don't remember the details, but he goes to find her, and underground hostage plays that this guy has, and he goes out and he finds women that have like crazy talents, like they play instruments, they're super smart, and he kidnaps them. Essentially, he has a collection of women, and he kidnaps them.
And what's it called?
Kiss the Girls.
Kiss the Girls. I like it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it goes to show there's notable ones even she's found that she's enjoyed. For me, the diversity in genres that were hitting at the time, with everything we just mentioned, with Titanic being the storytelling effect, same with Good Will Hunting, innovative sci-fi with The Fifth Element and Men in Black, and then the intense drama again with Good Will Hunting. I think it was just like, it was a good melting pot that year. For some reason, 1997 hit hard. And I guess it's interpretation, right? I think for me at my age, I think it had a bigger impact for me, I guess.
It was the good old days.
Like, it takes me back. I can see each one of those titles, and I can tell you when I seen that movie, I can tell you exactly where I was, what I was doing.
That's impressive.
It is. It's kind of like music too. Don't you have that? Like with certain songs that you hear, doesn't it take you back to a certain time when you first heard that? Do you ever have that effect?
I have some songs that I remember. I went through periods where I would listen to them on repeat.
Okay.
For some reason.
It just meant hard. You know what? You tell me, Lil Wayne. That album, you and your friend, you told me that it always takes you back because you bring it up every time you hear the song. You're like, yeah, me and her would be bumping this to
5 a.m. in the morning, working to our early shift to work. Nobody else was up that early. We would leave our house at 4:30.
Just coming in hard.
So we would speed to work listening to Carter 2, the album on repeat.
I was more of a Carter 3 guy, to be honest, but the Carter 2 bumped and fucked just
Miss
as hard.
Officer.
Ooh.
Ooh wee.
Oh my God. So she does have it, folks. She knows what I'm talking about. Okay. So this movie, to get back to I Know What You Did Last Summer, it had a pretty strong cast. A young cast, again, similar to Scream. This cast had all the up-and-comers that you would find in 90210, you know, those types of shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It had those type of teenage shows that these actors were in. So you had Jennifer Love Hewitt playing Julie James. You had Sarah Michelle Gellar as Helen Shivers. You had a young Ryan Phillippe as Barry Cox. Freddie Prinze Jr. as Ray Bronson. Bridget Wilson, who was coming off like Mortal Kombat at the time. She's playing Elsa Shivers, Helen's sister. Anne Hesh makes a appearance in this as Missy. As you find, she'll be the brother of one of the victims. You have another one that I totally forgot he was in this movie, and I have a hard time envisioning him in this movie still. Johnny Galecki as Max Nurek. And then to round it out, we had Muse Watson as Ben Willis. So he's he's the hook guy. But so with this one, how do you feel about Johnny Galecki in this movie, Angelus? I'm curious.
I can't shake off. He's the dude from the Big Bang Theory. The geeky friend. So trying to see him into this role where he's like coming in hot, trying to hit on fucking Julie at the beginning. I was like, what are you doing?
So I was trying to give him a fair shake. I think that does nowadays, certainly when you watch it, you definitely go back to the Big Bang Theory. Nerdy as fuck, right?
Yeah.
But I always thought he was nerdy, even back then, even when he played his role, because what he was coming off of was David Healy for Roseanne. He was Roseanne's daughter's boyfriend. He was the cool kid. And even then I was like, this kid does not play this role very well. He's not a cool kid. And certainly in this movie, I don't feel him as a hardcore fisherman. I don't see him being in the fisherman business, anything around it. So I just have a hard time with him in the role. Although he does play a smug asshole good.
I don't know. I feel like none of these kids seem like the kids to be around the fishing economy. They seem too preppy. Especially, what's his name? Barry Cox.
Oh, Ryan Phillippe is, Barry Cox. So that was one what he was coming off of, his earlier roles, earlier films were Crimson Tide and White Squall. That helped establish him as a prominent actor. This kind of took him to the pinnacle of acting, being in this. But they weren't even considering him for this character. They originally wanted a buffier, bigger dude, like 6'5", a football player type of guy. But Ryan Phillippe ended up coming in and doing a really good job with the performance. Which I kind of see though. He plays that asshole good, because I could see you. We guys, we watched this movie together, and Angelus, I could tell, was like, I hate this piece of shit. He's a fucking asshole. He was getting under her skin.
He was an asshole fucking friend, an asshole just dude all the way around.
Well, it doesn't help his case either. Like, because in the movie, they go from a year from now, and then he's an even bigger dickhead to him. Like, oh, you guys look like trash.
He's just so entitled, sitting in his parents' house, because he didn't make that money.
No. So I think he plays that entitled football player really well. How'd you feel about Freddie Prinze Jr. in this?
I don't see him as a fisherman either.
I'm glad you say that, because I don't either. He looks too clean. He doesn't look like he's got calluses on his fingers.
No,
Let's just say that.
He's supposed to be working on boats, and he looks pretty clean and well put together, other than the fact that he's standing on a boat.
Yeah, and then I don't get it. Is he running that boat? Like, is he the captain of that boat? Because he's a young dude. He looks clean cut and just does not look the part. And he certainly wouldn't be the captain. He would be the guy gutting the fish at the bottom.
Not after a year out of high school to own your own boat.
Yeah, he looked pretty fresh. So I don't know if he ran the boat or was the captain or not, but he plays the middle class, lower class guy in the movie, where the rest of them have money. Ryan Phillippe's character, Barry Cox, certainly is the privileged rich kid.
Well, apparently, Freddie Prinze Jr., he was not the first choice, because they thought he looked too soft, and he wasn't muscular enough to play a fisherman.
Yeah. Do you know who they had in mind?
I didn't find that. I just saw that.
I couldn't find that either.
That he was not the first choice.
But he went on to have a huge success in that late 90s, early 2000s with She's All That and other those teen-centric films. Who also, we're going to talk about her, Sarah Michelle Gellar. He ended up marrying, coincidentally, which is kind of cool. It sounds like they're still married.
Yeah, and I think from what I saw, this is the the movie where they first like got to work on something together.
Yeah, and then they did the Scooby-Doos.
On the Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, so Freddie Prinze, he's in this, made his debut, skyrocketed his career. You had Sarah Michelle Gellar, and at the time would have been filming Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the same time as filming this. So it just solidified her status as a horror and thriller like genre icon. In this, I believe she was in one of the Screams. Was she in Scream 2? Like in the sorority house? Or was that 4? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But no, yeah, I think she was pretty good casting in that, playing the beauty queen. I think she did that really well. It was good. There's some scenes I think she acted it good where it could have been kind of, I hate to say it, I don't want to shit on the film, but it could have been crappier with a different actress.
Can I just share my nickname for her role in this movie?
Sure.
She's Screen Queen number 2 and Julie's Screen Queen number 1.
Julie James. Oh, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Oh my gosh. By the end of that movie, when we were watched it together, there was so much screaming going on. And I was honestly getting a little frustrated. It's like, okay, we get it, Julie. You're going to die, but shut the fuck up. Run away from the guy. Every door that opened, every fucking footstep, it was just a scream. And it's like, okay, we get it. You can scream. I can only imagine, though, her vocal cords and how much it took out of her body to do those scenes.
Well, I mean, I think I kind of see where they're going with it, because she was, in essence, like, you had Neve Campbell, and then they were making her the next Scream Queen. Like, that was kind of the new hot title to name these final girls.
But Neve Campbell didn't scream as much on Scream.
She was more of a badass. Yeah,
she took it on.
Where Jennifer Love Hewitt, she was a victim all the way around. You could tell she was battling with some guilt dumping the guy.
She didn't want to do it. She was trying to do the right thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
But her asshole friends.
Yeah, those pieces of shit. Barry freaking Cox.
Barry.
But yeah, no, so that kind of rounds out the cast. I think it was really well cast. I think every character was good. It was perfect. I can't see anybody else in these roles. I know, again, we mentioned this on Scream, but Melissa Joan Hart was, again, they wanted her as the actress, the final girl, as Julie James, and she turned this one down because she thought this was just going to be a knockoff Scream, and it kind of is, but she turned down Scream because it was, I can't remember, it was too like hardcore.
Yeah.
And then this one, it was more of a knockoff. So she missed 2 potential big movies that would have skyrocketed her career, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if I wouldn't say regret, but I wonder if she would go back and
think that role,
rethink it. Because I do think it would have been an interesting movie with her in it, but I don't know if it would be as good, because Jennifer Love Hewitt was pretty awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I do have an honorable mention for Annie, who played Missy Egan. I like that character. I know she wasn't the main character. She wasn't on screen a whole lot. But the scenes that she was in there talking, she gave me a creepy vibes. She reminded me of the Wrong Turn movies, like folky people that live out in the country on their own, just kind of secluded and not around anyone else. So they came and she's like, I don't know, my brother didn't have friends. She was just kind of out of loop.
Oh, I get it. So you liked the casting of Anne Hesh.
Yeah, I think she did good. And the character, I don't know.
So this movie, I don't think that they needed this character, to be honest. And I don't think she wanted to do this. She came in as a favor. It looks like it was a favor because like she's barely in it. And she does play that kind of that crazy lady really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it was necessary.
Also, really off topic, I do have a question because Richard and I had a dilemma.
Oh yeah, let's ask the masses.
Freddie Prinze Jr. In this time period, 1997, when he has that jet black hair, he thinks that's his natural hair color. I'm saying it's not. We tried looking it up. The only thing I could find about his hair was that for Scooby-Doo, since he had the bleach blonde hair, he did have to shave his hair after those movies were done because they completely ruined his hair. But Richard thinks that the jet black, and I know what you did last summer, is natural. I'm saying BS.
I'm not saying it's jet black.
It's jet black hair.
I'm saying it's brown. It's a really dark brown, but I think some of the lighting and the camera angles make it look black.
It's very black.
You just won't let it go. This poor guy. I
hope you said it's real. It's natural.
I hope the next Comic-Con we go to,
there.
He's there, and I hope when we do, and if we do interview this guy, I want you to ask this question. We're going to talk all about his hair. He's going to be so annoyed by us.
I'm going to buy the VIP ticket to go take a picture and be like, don't you worry, I'll give you an extra buck. Can you just answer this question and tell Rachel your hair was dyed black?
Just dead set on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I don't think
it's
it was
not
jet
a bad
black.
thing. It's not his natural hair color.
Guys, listeners, she was obsessed with this and wouldn't let it go. We had to pause the movie so she could process this multiple times. Like, she kept bringing it up to the point me and her daughter were like, oh my God, we just started agreeing with her.
My daughter agreed from the beginning. She's like, no, it's dyed.
No, we were tired.
No.
We're like, we just want to get through this movie.
Richard was so bored.
And then, yeah, so that rounds out kind of the main cast of this. So I think with that, we're going to take a short break and we'll come right back and we'll get into the movie. All right. And we're back, guys. So my lovely co-host forgot that she didn't forget. She reminded me that I forgot about the director, Jim Gillespie. Now, this was his breakout movie for his career. So this was a collaboration with Kevin Williamson, who did Scream. And so this, from what I found out with this director, he is very selective. When I was looking at his background, he didn't do a lot of films. It was more, what I got out of it was trying to be more quality over quantity. And he came out with films like Joyride, 1995, that had Tobey Maguire, Benicio del Toro, and Adam West. Now, don't get it mistaken with 2001's Joyride, which I did. And this had Paul Walker in it. That's the one. That's the Joyride I remember and enjoy. But apparently this one, it was the coming out party for Benicio del Toro and Tobey Maguire, which I didn't know. And I still don't know. I should have looked up the movie. He also did another movie, Detox, in 2002, also known as I See You, a psychological thriller starring Sylvester Stallone.
I didn't know Sylvester was in a thriller.
Yeah, Detox or I See You. And then this one, guys, another one. So he has two movies that I got confused with different movies. So Joyride and then this one, Venom, 2005. So coincidentally, this movie is a Marvel movie. It's based off a Marvel comic book, but it's set in Louisiana, combining elements of slasher and supernatural horror, reflecting Gillespie's continual exploration of the genre. So I was curious on this because I'm like, Venom? No, man, Tom Hardy, Venom. That was way after 2005. So I looked up the plot, and it was kind of hard to look up, too. So the story centers around a group of teenagers who must face off against a man named Ray Sawyer, who becomes possessed by evil spirits after a car accident involves a suitcase and a cursed voodoo snakes. These snakes release an evil force that takes over Sawyer, turning him into a monstrous entity seeking revenge on the teenagers.
Well, that explains why I'm so scared of snakes.
So this wasn't a big box office success either. But I do, after finally seeing the trailer, I do remember this movie, and I do remember I was less than impressed.
Oh, you did watch it?
I did, and I did not like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, guys, don't be surprised if we cover this on the pod. And then he has two more movies to his list. Take in 2007. It's a drama with Minnie Driver and Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye. And then the last movie that he did was 2016, known as Billionaire Ransom, but also known as Takedown, a thriller about a group of spoiled rich kids sent to boot camp on a remote island where they must fight for their lives. So, yeah, that's his career. Other than that, I'll be honest with you, this is the only movie of note that I've seen, but I am gonna watch that Sylvester Stallone thriller. I like a good Sylvester Stallone movie, so we'll be watching that in the future, Angelus.
Yay!
So this movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, is loosely based off a book that was published in 1973 by an author of the name Louise Duncan. She has been quoted as not being she didn't like this movie. She didn't like that her book became a teen slasher, where I guess it was more of a thriller.
Yeah, she intended a suspense novel.
Yeah, what she did, and I tried to look back and I still can't find her, but I didn't really try that hard. Apparently she made a cameo in the movie.
Yeah, I read that too.
Do you know where at?
I don't remember what her character was, but it was very brief. Again, she wasn't super thrilled at the idea that her novel had been turned into a horror movie.
But you do remember seeing her in this?
Not seeing her in this. I just remember reading about it when I was looking up stats for the movie.
Yeah, I was looking it up and I seen that, and it didn't really, from my research, didn't tell me where she was in the movie. So I was curious to kind of see, but again, guys, if you're listening, please tell us. We're obsessed with horror, but we're not experts. To start this movie off, though, we have an opening sequence. So it starts with an atmospheric shot of the ocean, of the coastal town. I believe it's in North Carolina.
I think so.
And it focuses in on the cliffside with very awesome remake of Summer Breeze by Typo Negative. And that just set the tone for that late 90s vibe. So
vampire music, as you call
yeah. Hey, do your impersonation of it. Come on, you got this.
Vampire music?
Yeah, of the song. Do it.
Summer breeze that makes me so sad. This has been consistent of my car rides with my daughter in it, because all of a sudden she's obsessed and very into Typo Negative, and she just keeps freaking playing vampire music in my car.
Oh my god. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Jay Steele, lead singer. So we focus in the intro of the movie. It focuses in the cliffside. A lone figure sits on a cliff overlooking the ocean, appearing troubled and drinking, hinting there's an underlying theme of guilt and possibly revenge. In that, he's got a little trinket that he's flicking around. I couldn't really read what it says on it, though.
It says I love you.
Oh, okay, it does.
It's a necklace, yeah.
I must not have been wearing my glasses.
It was one of those.
Was it pretty clear?
Times where you're trying to look cool, so you purposely don't wear your glasses.
Mm-hmm.
It looked kind of a little bit faded.
Yeah, so
and it was like for a second the lighting hit it right to where you could actually read it.
I'd never seen it, so I was interested in what it says. So at that point, it gets to the celebration of the kids. We see our main characters. Where are they at? Is it at this point? Are they at the beauty pageant?
Yeah, the Kroger Queen pageant.
That does sound hilarious. Croaker Queen.
Yeah, Kroger Queen. Can you say that 5 times in a row?
Croaker Queen, Croaker. I can't. Croaker.
Yeah.
So they're pretty excited. The whole town's there, it appears.
Yeah, it looks like it gives me vibes of a small town setting.
Oh, definitely. And they're up on the high rise, all cool.
Watching their friend Helen participate.
Which Freddie Prinze Jr. made an collar like joke. He's like, dang, like what? He said something about her body.
Her, he's never noticed her breast looks so
Ample, yeah, and his girlfriend's sitting right behind him. Like, what the fuck, you dickhead?
Yeah, but Helen's up there giving her corny little answer to her question of how she's gonna represent the town or contribute to the country or something, the culture.
By being a movie star.
Yeah, in New
In New
York.
York, yeah. So she ends up winning that. They go out and celebrate with a beach party.
And they're out on the beach, gather around telling scary stories.
It's a 4th of July beach party. They're
Yeah.
celebrating high school graduation, apparently. I didn't realize that was the graduation. Did you? Did you get a vibe of that?
No.
Yeah, and who celebrates like high school at the 4th of July? Just weird to me. But then, yes, they go in later. They're on the beach by themselves by a shipwrecked boat, which I feel like that boat would have been cleaned off years ago because it's kind of a, it's a beach for a vacationing area. They would have cleaned that off for the beachgoers, but it makes a cool aesthetic for the scary movie or the scary story. They're talking about a mythical man with a hook for a hand.
Yeah, kind of giving an insight into what's gonna happen down in the movie.
Yeah, and they all have their it shows how a folklore or an urban legend can have legs because they each have a different story, a different theme to the same scary story, which was kind of cool to see and hear because you do hear that in real life, like different things, like Angelus heard something completely different than I did about the same story.
Yeah.
So at this point, they're having a good time. Barry's drinking pretty aggressively.
Where do they get the booze from?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't explain that.
Anyways, yeah. Barry he's the one driving him around because he has a car.
Initially, yeah, his BMW, I believe. And so they're on the beach, they're drinking, it's time to go. And then they're being responsible.
Yeah, I was actually impressed that they did not let him drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Helen took the keys and she was like, nope.
And he kept saying it like at least 12 times. No one drives my car.
Yeah, nobody touches my car. Yeah, but no, they were responsible. She took the keys away from him and gave him to Ray, so he would drive.
And they're making googly eyes in the car at each other because they just made their first love.
And what I really like throughout this movie, like from the moment that Helen wins her crown, how obsessed she is with this crown. She's like wearing it at the beach, wearing it in the car, just every scene possible. There's the crown next to her.
Crown.
She's just caressing it. She reminded me of Gollum on
Oh my God.
Her Precious.
She does, now that you say that. She's like really attached to that.
Caresses it, yeah.
So yeah, they're making googly eyes. At this point, Barry, Ryan Phillippe, is still making an ass of himself. He's drinking pretty aggressively, sticks his head out of the sunroof and is screaming. And he's like, oh, what's up with this crappy pussy shit, like on the radio? And then he blares some stupid, like, I don't know, it was like punk rock or some sort of rock that I just don't envision these kids listening to. Anyways, he's jamming out, and all of a sudden he
screams. He sees something.
Yeah, but no, he like drops. He's clumsy. He drops the booze all over the lap of Ray, and then he like looks down, looks up. He's like, look out! And this is where they see the body in the middle of the road. They hit it. It hits Barry in the face as it flies up.
So my perspective of that scene, it looks like the body, it didn't look like it was falling onto the car. It looks like it was almost levitating. It was not, I couldn't tell whether it was like standing on the road.
They don't give you a good shot of anybody standing. You don't see it. It's focused on them in the car.
Body, something just hit in the car.
Initially, and when we paused it, it doesn't show you anything except that body might have been like either it was thrown or like dropped.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it didn't, because I couldn't tell. You can see the body figure on the road, but it doesn't look like that person is standing on the road. It also, from my perspective, it doesn't look like it's falling. It looks like it's levitating, just like still floating.
Interesting fact, too, is that body, when they get out of the car and they're like, oh my God, would we hit a deer animal? That body flew forward.
Yeah.
So how did it hit Ryan Phillippe in the face where he's covered in blood? It would have been behind them. It had it rolled back.
Yeah, or I don't know.
And where it hit the hood,
or it would
hit
have landed
on top of the hood of the car.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. That was the initial kind of like, whoa, how'd this even happen? Where'd this body go? It was kind of unbelievable, but I know it's Hollywood. It's the movies. So yeah, they get out. They're like, oh my God, it's an animal. They're trying to play it down. And then our actress, what's her name? Jennifer Love Hewitt, she finds a boot in the middle of the road or on the side. She's like, oh my God,
it's not a deer.
We hit someone out of their boots. You hit them so hard. So they're like, oh my God. And so they get flashlights, they go searching, and they look about 20 feet away.
And there's a body.
And this is our first scream.
Yeah. Who? But was it Helen at this point?
No, it was Julie.
Really?
Yep.
She's like, off?
Yeah, she screams. And then like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And this is where they start contemplating. And at this point, I'm like, dude, just call the cops.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it's what? Involuntary manslaughter? Or...
Yeah, but yeah, because they were driving. Ray was sober, or it seemed like he was a sober one.
And they're running through their minds like, oh my God, we're all going down for this. I mean, dude, yes, you would have some sort of consequence for hitting the body, right? And booze all over your car. You had an open container. But come on, even as teenagers, for me, I'd be like, if they're like telling me, oh, we got to go dump this body, hell no. And then that we need to make a pact to never say this to anybody, there's no way. I would be going right to my parents and being like, yo, so-and-so hit someone in the car. This is what happened. And guess what? My parents would have made me go to the cops, talk that shit out.
Yeah, the other thing, they immediately come to the conclusion that this person is dead. They didn't go check. They didn't wait. Like, well, I feel like my first reaction would be like, oh no, like CPR. Let's try to bring this guy back alive. No, they're like dead. We're never talking about it.
So they do. I think they don't do CPR, which is weird, but I think Ray does check for a pulse.
Yeah, briefly.
And yeah, so and then they see Johnny Galecki's name. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Max. He's coming down the road in his truck, and they're like, oh, someone's coming. And
Ray goes and talks to him.
But they dump the body on the side over the railing, and then they're acting like, oh, he's puking. Barry had a lot to drink. Julie goes and talks to Max, and he's like, oh man, Daddy's car or whatever looks in rough shape or something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah, they have a little show of who has the bigger balls, kind of.
Oh, and then Ray comes up and he's like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on it.
And this is where you kind of get the vibe that Ray's the poor one, because Max makes the comment like, oh man, you're sure playing the part really well.
He does not look poor though.
No, not at all, man. Like, I guess North Carolina poor is different than Spokane poor.
He's not shopping at a thrift store, let's say that. So
then they go to dispose of the body. They put the body in the back of the car. They have a moral dilemma. The group debates their actions. Barry insists on dumping the body to avoid legal consequences. Disposing of the evidence, they throw the body into the ocean, but he briefly comes back alive, leading to a panicked struggle that ends up with the body sinking. So again, they have multiple times. This guy is alive. They know he's alive.
He reached and grabbed Helen's crown on his way down the first step.
And then they do, and I know this was before Dexter, but they do that. I feel like everybody's seen Dexter. They talk about the tides. Oh, if we just push the body in the water, the tide will take it.
Yeah.
You gotta go out a ways for that tide
For that tide to
to
actually
do
pick it
it.
up and take
Yeah.
it far away.
Or else it's gonna wash up on the shore, if
The beach.
anything.
Yeah. No, yeah, but
When they dump the body, yeah, he's alive and he grabs her tiara or tiara.
she's like, my crown.
And then, yeah, and then
Barry jumps in.
and again, this is the second time the guy's down there, and then his eyes open and he's alive. Here's another chance to save this guy's life.
But they're like,
Fuck it.
he's dead. Yeah, they were like, they didn't even acknowledge, like, oh shit, like, he's not dead. He reached and grabbed your crown. And the second time, like, oh yeah, I pulled it out of his hand and he opened his eyes. They didn't acknowledge that the guy was still alive. They could have saved him.
I mean, they would have been in more trouble because clearly they were trying to dispose of the body, but at the same time, they didn't kill anybody at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they end up dumping the body. And then it goes to 1 year later. Everybody's doing their thing. They've kind of disbanded. Julie went to college. For what we know, Helen went to New York. We don't know where Ray went at this point. They don't. But you assume Barry went off to college and was a star quarterback. At this point in time, Julie, when she returns, we see her. She's returning from, I believe it's summer vacation.
Yeah.
Coming back, Julie returns home from college, visibly changed and guilt-ridden.
Yeah, you could tell she didn't, when she was leaving her dorm, her roommate was like, yes, you are going. Like, she wasn't 100% set and going back home to her hometown, but she does.
And she meets her mom, and her mom makes a comment. She's like, are you on drugs? What the hell's going on with you? Because clearly she's depressed.
With her bangs that you hated so much.
Dude, her bangs are horrible and greasy. Like, take a shower, get a better shampoo and conditioner. I mean, even in 1997, there was Tresemme or something.
I think there was high moisture in that town, okay?
Yeah, probably. But when she sits with her mom and she's clearly distraught, she goes into what I think an office or a living room, and you see pictures of her dad. Her dad died, but they don't specify when. But they show a picture of her where she's not too far off the age she is now in that movie. So did he die within the year or before that?
You didn't address that.
So that has a big effect. And clearly, because she's crying, she starts crying because she's failing out of college because all the guilt of disposing the body, I assume, too. And her dad's like, or her mom's like, oh, your dad would be rolling in his grave right now.
That's fucked up, dude.
Which, yeah. And then to make it worse, she's like, you got a letter.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then when she opens the letter, the big giveaway. What's it say?
I know what you did last summer.
Summer in big, bold letters.
Mm-hmm.
She gets panicked and triggering fear and suspicion among the friends. She starts reaching out to her friend. She goes to Helen first, or wants to find Helen. And this is where we find out that Helen didn't really give Hollywood a chance and give New York a chance because she was there less than a year and expected immediate success.
Which I feel like never happens.
No, you gotta put in your time. You gotta grind through stuff. Like, sometimes it takes years, sometimes it doesn't happen, but you gotta be really dedicated. So she wasn't necessarily dedicated to being an actress.
Yeah, she goes and talks to Helen.
Yeah.
She's like, dude, I got a note.
Yeah, and Helen's like, what the hell?
She's like, it can't be. And is Helen the one that suggests that they go see Barry?
Yeah, she's like, oh, we gotta talk have you talked to Barry about this yet?
And they show up at his house, and Julie finds out that Helen and Barry are no longer a thing.
Not a thing. And not only that, he is pissed off that he's even seeing him. And I don't know, I'll have to rewatch the movie, but were they coming in through the backyard? Like,
I don't know, maybe he just has a huge front yard.
They really emphasized how big the house was, but it looked like the backyard because the ocean was on the other side of that. I want to think maybe it's in my head. I don't know.
I don't know, but they come in. He's like, "What are you two doing here?"
Yeah, and he makes the comment about their appearances. He's like, "Man, you guys really look fucking like shit."
Rough. Yeah. Again, he's an ass.
And then, so they do that. They talk about it. They're like, "Who could it be?" And
Well, first he says it's nothing.
yeah, this is nothing. They could be talking about anything. And she's like, "Well, only one thing happened of note, and that's murder."
And then he's like, well, besides them four who made the pact that they were not going to tell anyone about it, the only other person that they saw was Max. So he's like, all right, we're going to go talk to Max about it at the fishery place.
Yeah. So he then threatens Max essentially.
Yeah.
With the hook, the ice hook that's going to be the vocal point, the weapon of the movie. He puts that kind of in his face, right? He pushes him up on a block of ice and like, hey, you fucking keep doing this shit, I'm going to fuck you up kind of thing.
Yeah, Max has no idea what he's talking about yet.
Again, this is kind of where we see Max trying to be a badass too. And he waits for Barry to walk away and he's like, you know what? Do that again, I'll mess you up. It's like, dude, come on. You're all but fucking 5 feet. 5 foot tall.
Don't pick on that guy, man.
I know. He's
Just
Mighty Mouse.
His ground.
But this leads to reuniting the whole group with a tense exchange with Ray, even.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Eventually, yes. But I don't know why. Although Max wasn't directly involved with the car accident, he's the first one to go in the movie after Barry confronts Max.
Yeah, so that doesn't, he's not even involved with the murders, which is kind of weird. He's kind of putting the crabs away into the pots, it looks like.
Yeah, and then here comes the guy and just guts him.
Hook, and that actually is a pretty cool scene because you see the hook go up in his mouth. You don't see a lot of blood. The blood smears on his workstation, but it is kind of a cool scene because he pulls him forward. I thought that was pretty cool.
And then you gotta walk me through the next scene. I just remember, so from here after killing Max, he goes and attacks Barry.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, so they meet with Ray and they're like, Ray, you're a fisherman now? Yeah. What the hell? And then they have an exchange. And then at this point, Barry is the first one of the group that has a run-in with this guy. He goes and he's a badass. He rolls up in his BMW to the gym that's on the dock, I think. A little boxing dojo.
Okay.
And he does his thing, gets his workout. He goes back to the locker room and he's looking around. I don't know, something triggers him. He's like, oh man, is someone here? He walks around and then he walks outside and then someone's in his car. And he's like, haha, okay, Max, you're fucking dead now, because he still thinks it's Max. And I have a problem with this scene. He's running. He could run sideways in a way to evade this car, but he continues to run straight as the car's chasing him. At any point, he could turn and the car wouldn't be able to get him. But he waits to the perfect area where that car can smash into him.
Well, maybe he didn't pay attention in science and school.
I don't know, man.
Or others.
And you kind of see Barry being a little bitch. Because he gets hit by the car, right? And then he's like, no, don't kill me, don't do this, man.
He shows that he's not as much of a tough guy as he says he is. I mean, I would probably be a little
I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it too, but you have a temper and you're this asshole, then all of a sudden you're whining. Come on. And then they're at the hospital and they meet up. They're like, oh my God, Barry, you were attacked. Again, he was kind of being a denier about it, right?
Mm-hmm. And then this is where Julie brings up that she's actually been doing research on the guy that they killed. And she found out that his name is David Egan.
David Egan, and that they need to investigate that he has a sister.
Yeah, they do research, and then they come to see that they found a body a year ago of this David Egan that washed up on the shore.
Yeah.
And he was killed, and they think at this point that it was a suicide for some reason. The police did. And he has a sister, Susie, that survived him. So they,
No, it's not Susie. Susie died.
or sorry, Missy.
Yeah, Missy.
Okay. So David was previously engaged to Susie.
Which hasn't come out yet. We don't know
Hasn't
any
come
of
out
this
yet.
yet. We don't know any of this yet, part of the movie, right?
No, so then they go, so his
But
sister is Missy, not Susie. And they go visit her to ask her.
no, Susie's dead.
Yeah.
So Missy, they go and visit Missy because they need questions. They're like, oh, this David character must be the one behind all this.
Yeah, that's what well, they're trying to find that information because as of right now, they think David again is who they killed.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, someone who knows David must be the killer.
Yeah, revenge.
So and then the continued threats happen. The group receives more threats. Helen witnesses the fisherman kill a police officer, escalating the danger. So before this incident, they have the grand idea of, oh, you need to go to the whole shindig that happens where you are the reigning beauty queen. So you need to show face, and the killer's bound to show his face while he's there. While you're there, and then Barry's going to be on the float with you. And if you see him, Barry will chase him down. Is that what happened?
Yeah, but before that, before she makes it there, Helen gets attacked at her house by the killer. Remember, he goes.
Oh, yeah, I am totally skipping ahead. I'm sorry.
You are.
Yeah, because we meet Missy. They end up going to Missy's house, her and Helen. So Julie and Helen go to Missy's house, right?
Yeah, they go and talk to her. And they're asking her questions, vague questions, trying to, be nosy and ask about David and see if he's really dead. Or if if his sister knows anything about what happened to him. And Missy, she's like, oh yeah, he didn't have a lot of friends. One of his friends showed up after he died.
And they had a connection, right?
And Missy and this mysterious friend had a connection, but it didn't go anywhere. And she's like, yeah, I think
lasted all but 2 minutes.
Friend, yeah, felt a little guilty about, David and her and having something. And
so this must be the killer, right? They're focused on that.
Yeah, they're like, his friend must know what happened. And Missy says that the friend's name is it Billy Blue?
Yeah, Billy Blue.
Billy Blue was the name that he gave her. And then he stops visiting. Yeah, and after that, they don't get much information. And Helen has said that, her brother...
No, but they're going to look in the yearbook for Billy Blue.
Committed suicide. So Helen and Julie, peace off.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to go look in her sister's yearbook because it was the same year. They were graduates of the same year.
Yeah. So then, yeah.
They come up with a plan, though, to... Yeah, she's going to be at the parade. She's going to do this. But later that night, when she gets home, I like the branding placement, too. They focus in on that Diet Coke. Yeah. She cracks that open, man. Those fizzy suds. That even made me kind of thirsty. I don't even drink pop like that. But, man, I was like, dude, that actually sounds pretty good.
Nice and bubbly and cold.
And they added another element to this that I don't think it was necessary. Her dad, they showed him being a drunk. It appeared it doesn't say it and they don't get into it as much, but he's on the couch with a beard. She just looks at him and is like, ugh.
I just do a scene, it pans out and he's just in this dark living room. And although it looks like it's
watching
in the
a
middle
baseball
of the
game.
Day, yeah, but all the curtains are shut. He's just drinking, watching TV by himself.
Watching the ball game. And the killer in his fisherman outfit, what do they call it? A slick? I think something like that. Well, he shows up, and I don't know how you avoid being seen in that thing or heard
by both the dad and her sister. Because
bulky as fuck. That outfit is bulky as fuck, dude.
I feel like it would be noisy.
I know it would be noisy. It would absolutely be noisy. And how can he see? He's hiding his face, man. I'd be bumping into everything.
I know. But again, Helen, she's getting ready to go to bed, caressing her crown.
So, yeah, looking at it, reliving the glory days of a year ago. Having a midlife crisis, oh man, Hollywood didn't work out, even though she didn't even give it a try. But she's in her room, and this pervert's in the closet, watches her kind of doing her thing, And you think just when it turns around, the camera kind of does a trick. Behind her, in comes her sister. And they have weird exchanges. I didn't realize they were sisters right away, to be honest with you. I thought they hated each other.
Yeah. Well,
And I still think they hate each
I
other.
think so.
What was up with the vibe of that?
I don't know. The older sister,
I
what was
hated
her
her.
name?
We just covered it.
Helen's sister. She, wants Helen to go and help her at the store because apparently it sounds like they have a family store or they both work at this store. They didn't
It was a
clearly.
family store
Okay.
because it's Shivers is
So
the name.
she wants Helen to go and help, and she's like, "Oh, I can." She has the festival, the parade the next day. And her sister says something, and I think it's the second time that I hear it in the movie that she's like, "You and your hair, you're just stupid. You're so obsessed with your hair." And I think one point, Helen, at the beginning of the movie, Julie compliments her on the crown, and she's like, "It's all about the hair."
Yeah, it's all about the hair. So hinting there's got to be more to the hair. So when I first saw this movie, that went over my head. I didn't realize that. But seeing it now, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's coming forward.
And she goes to bed, wakes up, that stupid tiara is on her head. She pulls out, she's like, what the hell? And then her hair starts coming off.
Chopped off. I would be pissed.
Would you be pissed or would you just be freaked? I would be freaked out. I'm like, oh my fucking God.
I would be pissed, depressed, freaked out. I would have not left my house.
On the mirror, it says soon, right?
Something.
I think it says soon.
Yeah, but I don't know. Okay, my question is, if he really wanted to kill them, he had the perfect opportunity. She was asleep alone in her bedroom while she was asleep, not expecting him. He totally could have taken her out.
Yes, yeah. But he doesn't. He's playing with them. Because then Julie gets the call. She gets in her car. She heads straight over there. She starts hearing stuff in the back of her car, like crawling, it sounds like, or something moving. She keeps looking. It keeps like looking in her rearview mirror. And so she parks.
Is she going over just to visit? No, she's going over because she called her about the hair.
She got the call. And so then she pulls over on the side of the road. She opens it. And what does she see?
Max.
Yeah.
Dead. Covered in crabs.
Covered in crabs. I don't know if there's ice. I think that's in my head that there was always ice in there.
I didn't see ice.
But there was definitely crabs. And one crab, it's kind of cool. It comes out of his mouth. I thought that was a pretty cool effect.
Yeah.
So she ends up shutting that real quick, leaving her car, running to Helen's house.
Conveniently, she was close enough.
Mm-hmm. And then they come back to the car, and Barry's even, again, shrugging this off. He's like, what? I don't know what you're fucking talking about. Yeah. This is bullshit. This is in your head. And she's like, no way, dude. And they end up opening it. And this is so far-fetched. The middle of the day, in front of a house, you're telling me the killer was able to remove the body and crabs out of this car?
I found a theory for this.
Okay, I want to hear it.
No? Or no?
Yeah, I want to hear it now.
One of the theories that someone came up with of how this would have been able to be pulled off is a body bag. So the killer had a body bag.
Wait. Someone talked about this?
Yes, because there's so much confusion around this movie.
Oh, shit.
So somebody said one of the theories was Max was dragged and put into Julie's trunk in a body bag along with the crabs and everything. It's the only, one of the most reasonable explanations on how he would have been able to open the trunk, just zip up the body bag, crabs and everything, make a clean escape, and take off with Max again.
I didn't see any body bag in there.
It's a quick scene, just like when they hit the body. I don't know.
I see a woman run away from the car screaming, and then later someone's coming in, Jimmy rigging that car trunk open in the middle of the day to get a dead body out of it. It's hard to believe. Even that fan theory sounds kind of crazy to me, but out of the grand scheme of things, that's probably the most realistic. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, though? What do you think happened?
I think this is the most reasonable explanation. Because how do you clean up so many crabs in the middle of the day in a nice neighborhood? Because
I wouldn't say it was nice. It looked lower middle class.
Did you see those yards and those trees?
Okay. I know me being the neighbor, if someone's in front of my house or
You're
even
gonna be
two
out
houses
there
down,
with your bing camera.
I'm seeing that shit. Babe, you know I'd be looking out the window be like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, Angela, something's going on out there. We better call crime check.
My ring camera's going off. Who's on my door?
Exactly. Like, there's just no way there'd be a nosy neighbor that would see this. I'm sorry, every neighborhood has one, and the houses are close enough that some old lady or old dude would
Or
find it.
or they were all at the parade already, because that was the same day that they were doing their huge parade
Oh,
downtown.
festivities going on.
Yes.
I guess that could be true. It's a small fishing town, so yeah, I could believe that.
Thanks.
Well, that's a good theory. So, moving forward, they figure that out. So they come up with the plan. You need to keep going to the parade.
And at this point, Barry really hones in and starts thinking that it's Ray.
Oh yeah, and they go over to Ray, and he's like, "I've been looking for you guys all over." And then Barry, in his fit of rage, punches Ray in the face and be like, "You're a piece of shit. I know it's you." Yada yada yada.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I got a note too."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you got a note? She's got a dead body. She doesn't have hair. I got ran over, and you get a note?"
Yeah. How dare you?
Although we don't see the note either, so it kind of builds up Ray being the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then that's where they make the plan that she's attending the parade and Barry's there on the lookout.
Yeah, and then I don't know what Ray's doing, but Julie goes
tending to his boat.
I know, but does it even say that? Julie goes to the library and does research while the parade's happening.
You figure they would be sticking together if this guy is really after them, that they would kind of watch out for each other, but they don't. They just kind of,
And Julie, while she's at the library, she does all this research, reading what's happening, all the clippings about David Egan. She finally kind of comes to the realization who's at it.
Before that, she goes to visit Macy one more time.
Oh, that's
right. I think guilt drove her there because she's asking again Missy questions about her brother.
And she admits what happened.
Yeah, and she's like, your brother. And she's like, no, he committed suicide. He left a note for the suicide. And they go into this huge explanation of how her brother felt guilty about Susie dying a year ago.
Yeah,
the whole
never
town
let it go.
Yeah, the whole town blamed him, so he committed suicide. And she pulls out the note from a shed that they have.
And then Julie's like, "This wasn't a suicide. This was a death threat."
Yeah, but his note was it was very similar, but it was slightly different. His note says, "I will always remember last summer."
Yeah, exactly.
And when Julie confesses and says, no, he didn't commit suicide. We ran him over. We saw his tattoo on his hand and says that, had a tattoo that said Susie on it.
This is my first one of several confusing parts of this, because the sister says, what? David never had a tattoo. So who the hell did they hit then?
Oh, I got a theory that I found at the end.
Okay. So anyways, there's a plot hole in this part of the movie.
I just didn't put it together until I started reading, and I was like, somebody explained to me the ending. And I was like, oh.
You're talking to other people about this movie?
No, I was reading blogs. We're not the
Are
only
you
ones
doing
that were
other
confused.
Angeles, real talk? Are you doing other podcasts?
No, I don't have that much time.
I don't have that much time.
No.
Okay. So now Julie goes to the library.
Yes.
After being creeped out over Missy.
Because she's like, my brother didn't have no tattoo.
Yeah, and then starts doing the research. While she's there, the beauty pageant's going, the parade's going, and they see a bunch of people in there. I'm just going to call them slickers. They see him in the slicks, and she sees them all over the place. All of a sudden, there's a figure that moves aggressively away, and she points to him, to Barry. Barry runs him down, tackles him, and it was just an old guy in his fisherman outfit. While he's doing that, the parade's going. She moves forward, and she's looking all around. All of a sudden, she looks up, and there is the mysterious hooked fisherman staring down at her, right?
Helen.
Yeah, Helen
Is
on
this
the
at the
float.
parade or
Yeah,
okay?
at the parade.
Yeah.
And he has the hook and he raises it up. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna get it."
Yeah, and Barry goes off. No, I didn't. I don't
Yeah,
remember
because
Hook.
Barry runs off, and he runs off and tackles that guy, and he's not the guy. And then when she looks up, he has the hook and he like pulls it up
Oh,
towards him.
another guy. Okay.
Yeah, the actual guy. And then they transition to the back to where it all began, that beauty pageant,
Oh, where they're gonna
city
announce
hall, theater.
where they're at the stage where they're gonna crown the new Croaker Queen.
Ever since you said it, it's in my head. That is the stupid Croaker Queen. So she's sitting there. Although I didn't see last year's when she won the beauty.
the former beauty queen. Yeah, I didn't see
She
her
wasn't there, so that's weird. But okay, maybe we're nitpicking a little bit, but
there.
I didn't see it.
Consistency.
Yeah, come on. And so
Repetition.
she's sitting there and she's going to hand off the crown. So she's watching this performance. By the way, the beauty pageant ladies, were they supposed to be in their early 20s, late teens? Because that lady that starts singing the song, she clearly, I want to say it was, I'm going to be generous and say she's early 30s.
I don't know if okay from when Helen ran, I thought that it was like a teenage high school pageant, but then
they looked younger.
Second time around, yeah, they don't look like they're teenagers.
Dude, okay,
so
they're looking like 60-year-old broads up there.
God, I wouldn't say 60. Maybe it's just an open pageant, and maybe the year before it was teenagers, early 20s that were participating, and then this year, more people were participating from the town.
You need to start writing fan fiction.
Fan fiction?
I know you did last summer fan fiction. I think that's great. You'd fill a lot of holes. Plot holes. So while that's going on, she sees Barry up top. He's cheering on. He's like, yeah, enjoying the show. All of a sudden, the fisherman is in the back. She sees the shadowy fisherman behind the lights, and she screams for Barry to look out. And she's in a panic, hysterical. Naturally, she's seeing her friend being murdered. And he is violently murdered up there. And this is the weird part. When she tries to go help, she's screaming, right? And pointing up there. They stop and hold her.
Yeah, they hold her back. She's screaming. She's saying, help him. He's going to kill him. And everybody restrains her. And they're like,
what are you talking about?
Like, no. Shush.
Yeah, what's going on?
You don't know what you're doing. You just need to stay put, lady.
And the cop shows up. He's like, well, hold on, miss. What are you talking about? This is blasphemy.
Yeah, and they go out there and take a look.
And this is another thing that's so far-fetched. The way he was murdered and the way he showed that hook just like stabbing him, there would be blood splatter everywhere. And there is blood splatter that they show
on the rail,
on the railing, but there's only a little piece. I'm sorry. It would be bloodshed everywhere.
Listen,
splatter. I've seen enough Dexter to know blood splatter patterns.
This dude is just a freaking top-notch, super crazy fast cleaner. I feel like he needs a business card.
There was
and
dust.
He needs to pass it out.
There was dust everywhere.
But he cleaned the shit out of that blood. So I feel like we need to, if anyone has a really tough job, just reach out to this guy. He'll come and take care of anything in a matter of what minutes.
What's the nickname for a maid in Spanish?
La cha-cha.
Cha-cha.
He can be your guy. Everybody's cha-cha.
The ultimate cha-cha.
Yeah. Oh, cha-cha.
Oh my god. Stupid. I don't know why I think that's so funny.
The Hogue cha-cha.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
For fast and speedy cleanup. Neighborly Hogue cha-cha.
So he gets murdered. Nowhere to be found. she's hysterical, and I like how she has to now peel away. They have to peel away that crown from her. The guy, the beauty pageant guy, was like, "Hey, we're gonna need that."
Yeah, no, she's like, the last, the only thing she has to her name, you
Is that
know,
stupid
that matter
tiara.
to her. Yeah, she has to give it up. Which I thought, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I thought that they would just get a new crown every year they did the pageant. They can't be that expensive.
I know. I feel like let her hold on to it. It's like a trophy. Like she
Yeah,
earned that.
yeah.
So yeah, she gives that away. The cop's like, "Hey, we'll give you a ride home." They put her in the back like a perp. And make her ride in the back. She's still bitching out the cop,
He doesn't believe her.
"Yeah, you're just a stupid POS. You can't do your job." He's like, "Look, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna call Barry's parents, see if they know where he's at. He's probably playing a prank on you." And the fisherman, he's super clever and knew the cop was going to be taking Helen home, and he blocked the road off.
You know, with his truck.
No, not the truck. He
Oh.
blocked the road off, and the sheriff's like, "Well, guess we got to
Detour.
take the alley." And at this point, the truck's blocking him, and the fisherman's working under the hood in his slicker.
It's all dark.
And the guy's like, "Hey, need help, blah, blah, blah." And so Helen, you can almost say I have an argument that she's responsible for 2 deaths, because when she screams, the first one to Barry, he looks behind him, like he gets startled, and then he looks at her instead of like looking back. She's like, and points. That one, not as much, but I still blame her. And then the cop for sure, because instead of the cop forward facing this guy, she screams and like, "Oh, look out, that's him." And when he turns around like, "What?" That's when the fisherman comes and gets him. Like, you dummy, why would you yell?
Right? Just let him do his job, man.
And then another unrealistic thing is when the fisherman starts coming, somehow she kicks that tempered glass.
Oh, I know. I thought it was supposed to be like super fucking
pretty
strong.
easily. I mean, I've seen enough cops and live PD to see when people are kicking those things, it's pretty hard to kick the windows to break them. I'm sorry. I don't think she's going to be breaking them with her bare feet.
And then while all of this is going on, Julie's back home doing more research on who is David's friend, who did they really kill, and she finds this obituary again of David Eagle, and she starts Egan, not Eagle, and she's doing more research, and she finds out that a year ago there had been a car accident where both David and Susie were in the car. Mm-hmm. David was driving and the car skid off the road and they crashed. It sounds like they landed in a body of water because it just zooms into where it says that Susie drowned and David survived. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the articles that she was finding also said that they didn't find David personally responsible. It was just like a freak car accident. Yet he felt guilty about it, though.
Yeah. And she figured it out. She's like, okay, something's going down. Now I got to go. She runs. Does she try to find Helen and Barry at all?
She tries to find Ray first, but from here, the movie pans back to the killer chasing Helen.
And Helen, man, she goes back to her workplace, and and this is so frustrating. Like, even though like this, they clearly hate each other as siblings. She's being attacked, and even says she's being attacked, but the sister takes her time. She's like, "Why are you freaking out?" And she's like, "I'm being attacked." And lock the doors. That front door was locked, but the back door wasn't.
Why were the back? I don't know.
That's retarded.
Maybe that's just
sorry. Excuse my language.
At home, I keep both doors locked.
You would keep the back door locked anyways. Like, it was all dark and mysterious back there. Why would you keep that unlocked?
Yeah, especially to a business. You don't want people coming in and loitering and doing stuff.
Yeah, and for instances like this.
Killers.
So, yeah, she thinks she's safe, and she's not. The sister ends up getting it. She gets killed.
That was another epic kill.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And he's carrying her, which was kind of cool to see.
By like the torso.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And her head's just dangling back as he's dragging her around the store.
Not as much blood as you'd expect, though. They really dialed back the blood on this,
Yeah.
I feel like. So then Helen she realizes the killer's there. She jumps out the window.
Yeah.
And then starts taking off, and she goes down the alley trying to help. Again, another frustrating part of this movie, a parade walking by. This is almost like the parents in Scream in the intro when Drew Barrymore is being murdered.
Oh,
they're right there. I think they're trying to do the same kind of thing with this, but I think it falls flat because it's so unrealistic. Again, knowing me, I would see that on the corner of my eye and be like, holy shit, someone needs help. They're being aggressively attacked.
Like they were trying to make it seem like they're hiding behind this piles of tires. It looks like they may be behind a repair shop of some sort. And so there's just all these tires. But you can see the tires moving and fucking Helen screaming as much as she did. And he's attacking her, and here comes the marching band. And they zoom out the camera, and you can see both the attack going on and the marching band next to them.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I liked the kill. It was cool. But at the same time, I was like, ugh, that's dumb. And now what happens, though? She finds Ray. Is this where now Julie is running down the street? Because she runs by the murder scene of Helen.
From here,
and she tries to find Helen because she goes to the beauty pageant like theater and nobody's there.
But before she leaves her house, she's still doing research. And in her research, from the stuff that she was reading, she went down the rabbit hole for Susie, who was the girl that died in the car accident the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And that she was survived by her dad, Ben Willis. So she's like, all right, I gotta find everybody, tell them the new information that I found.
Ben Willis is really close to Bruce Willis.
It is.
Sorry, that's stupid.
Anyway. Yeah, she goes...
Sorry, Ben Willis should have been Bruce Willis. That would have been a better villain.
I don't know, he didn't have that much of an appearance until the end.
Well, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But how
wasted talent.
How epic would that have been when Bruce Willis rips off the fucking slicker and it's Bruce?
Yeah, so she goes and looks for them and finds Ray. And he's on his fisher boat at night, which I didn't know that. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Some fishermen would have worked late. I know.
Not when a killer's going around and everybody's freaking out.
I don't feel like that was like a big known thing in that time because they were trying to keep it under the ropes, remember? Because they were.
But amongst the friends,
I don't know. He only got a note, right? He was not attacked.
And then so she runs up. She's like, "Oh my god, this is what's happening!" And then he's like, "Just come on board. You can explain everything." She looks down, and then the boat is called Billy Blue.
Yeah, which is a name that Missy said was her brother's friend's name that went to visit her.
And that's the aha moment leading to, oh man, maybe Ray's the killer. What the fuck, that dirtbag.
Yeah, and she freaks out and she fucking takes off running.
Your daughter's favorite part. Why didn't she just run and jump the fence?
Oh.
She kept saying that, just jump the fence.
And she was frantically just going around in circles. Which seems very, like, I get that she was scared, but I think Ray fed into it by, like, I don't know, he was just like aggressively running after her too. He wasn't just being like, hey.
Well, he's like, wait, I can explain.
I can explain, and then he takes off aggressively running towards her. Back and it seemed like he was going to attack her. They
were really trying hard for Ray to be a red herring. But she runs into the arms of another fisherman, and he's like, oh, hide in my boat. And she goes in the boat, and then all of a sudden she sees it like a detective or a psycho killer's lair. It's all got yarn strung to the pictures. At least I envision it like this. All the pictures of them. And I love how the pictures are the pictures of the movie of the scenes that happened when they were walking on the pier. To confront Max and other parts.
Taking pictures.
That's what I'm saying. And they weren't Polaroids. These were professional pictures. Like, so I was like, that you're kind of taking me out of the movie at this point.
Invested some money.
You're taking me out of the movie at this point.
Yeah, and he has pictures of them. And then there's this mysterious fisherman, right? He knocked out Ray. Julie's in his boat. There's pictures of Julie and her friends. And then in the background, there's a picture of Susie.
Is there?
Yes, there's a picture of Susie and it has her name underneath. And then hanging next to that is that necklace that David had at the start of the movie that says, I love you.
I didn't realize that was a picture of Susie there.
Yeah, there's a picture of her in the boat.
God, this movie, I missed the mark on this movie.
Put it together and you're like, oh my God, it's Ben's boat. Ben Willis.
Bruce Willis.
It's Bruce Willis from Temu. Fuck that. Leave this guy alone, all right?
Speaking of Temu, Ryan Phillippe's shirt in the beginning was clearly from Temu. It was like 5 sizes too big. We are not sponsored by Temu, by the way.
I've never. Yeah, it's scary.
So she's on the boat. She realizes this. She's like, "Oh shit! Ray is not the killer."
Yeah, she found the guy she was looking for without, unintentionally.
And this is where they talk briefly because the killer's like, "Oh, you did your research."
Oh yeah, because he's like, "What are you guys doing? You should be out doing stuff in the summer instead of running people over." And she's like, "You're Ben Willis," and she's like, "Huh." Seems like you've been doing your homework.
Yeah, exactly. And then she gets out of the... How does she evade him at that point? I can't remember because she works her way down to the bottom of the boat.
Yes, he's running around trying to chase her.
Yeah, and then she gets she's down low because she's like, Ray, help. And at this point, the fisherman, Ben Willis, is untying the boat and then driving out to sea.
With her in the boat, yeah.
Yeah, and then and this is another frustrating part. This is a common theme for me. I'm sorry. At some point, she could have jumped off this boat and swam back to shore. Like, she was free. She could have jumped out and survived.
But she did not.
Nope. Instead, she went down below to hide, and she went to the ice chest area. And
the fake ice chest area.
I don't know if it's fake ice.
It's fake ice.
I don't know if it's fake
For
ice.
movie purposes, it was fake. It was like even sizes, super shiny. It looked plasticky
You
to
didn't
me.
see, yeah, you're right. You couldn't see her breath. You'd see someone's breath down there.
Yeah, you would have seen her clothes get wet if she was really rolling around in ice.
Yeah. So then she's down there. She's trying to hide. She kind of covers the door. And as she's trying to cover the door with ice, down comes Helen. Helen's frozen body. Yeah. And then she finds Barry's face in there.
They're both down there. And okay, this is the moment where I've had enough of her scream.
Oh, I know. At this time, we need to have a scream count. And if anybody watched this movie or can do the count, please let us know because I'm fascinated. She has to have screamed at least 50 to 70 times.
Yeah. Every little thing was a scream. If someone burped, it was a scream. And it wasn't a little scream. It was a high pitch. And it's like, okay.
Do her scream quietly. How do you do it?
I don't know that's
So she's screaming. And then Ray, he's going to be a hero. He hops on somebody's boat. It's not his little speedboat.
He's doing some fucking Spider-Man moves at this point.
Mm-hmm. He ditches his boat, action hero style, jumps onto the killer's boat, and is trying to work his way to Julie.
Yeah, he's climbing on top of the...
This distracts the killer. He goes back up to fight Ray. Right?
Yeah, he comes up. There's a confrontation. And somehow between the middle... This was not a very confrontational scene. Ray gets very lucky and knocks Ben off the boat, essentially.
Oh, so no. Julie's up there. Ray's up there. The killer's up there. Ray then throws I forgot what it is, what it's called that. It's like a heavy weighted hook thing on the boat into his face. I'm sorry. This would have smashed this guy's face and would have obliterated his face. It would have broke something. His whole face. It would have broke it. But this guy comes up without a scratch. He's passed out for a second. They think they're safe. He pops back up. He grabs Julie, right? And then at this point, he has the hook And then his hand just magically, perfectly goes through the loop of that rope. And Ray, I think, pulls something, and then he ends up going up, and it just perfectly rips his hand off. No blood either. It didn't splatter. I wanted a little more gore in that situation.
More gore.
Yeah.
And he falls into the water.
Yeah, he flies into the water, and his hand lands on the net.
Well, no, after the cops come over and they're
they fish out the
investigating and they pull out the fish net, and magically there's a fucking fist with that hook attached to the fish net that rolls
The cop
up.
makes a comment. He's like, they always show up.
The body always turn up. And they'll find it later.
Does. And that's the end of the movie. And then shortly, so all the commotion, that's the end of the commotion. So at the end of the movie, I like how they do the little phone calls. I know he wasn't on the other side of the line. No actor was. Because you could tell the way she was acting.
Oh, holding the phone.
Yeah. And she's like, oh no, you got to keep your hands off me. Blah, blah, blah. I love you, mister. Some crap. And then she steams up. This is the most steamiest bathroom I've ever seen in my life. I would love to take a shower in one of those things. Right?
Yeah, and then she hears like knocking outside the door.
Yep, you got a letter.
She goes to go see. Yeah, and she opens the letter, freaked out, thinking it's gonna be another "I know what you did" letters, and it's an invitation, right, to a
pool party.
To a pool party. And she's like, "Ho ho!" Goes back inside, and
then on the window or the shower
on the
glass,
door, yeah,
it's "I still know what you did."
Which, there were perfectly written letters for the message. Yeah, because I've written before on mirrors.
Ooh, who'd you write to?
No, nobody at home. I drew faces and shit.
Oh.
But anyways, when you draw into a mirror, because it's so steamy, the condensation of the water eventually starts dripping.
Mm-hmm.
There was no drip on it. It was perfect letters, like no drip, no nothing. Fake. Anyways.
And then it ends the movie with him bursting out. So, did you do any research on this? Was this a dream sequence? Because they have a sequel and she's perfectly fine. And I believe they don't even touch on this.
I didn't research on this, but maybe she did imagine it. That was another theory for the scene of Max being in her trunk with all those crabs, was that maybe she just imagined it. Ooh. She was tripping.
Okay. So, yeah, that's the end of the movie. Was there any more like fun facts about this movie that you did in your investigation of this, like your little deep dive?
My little deep dive. So, to kind of give me an answer as to why Ben was trying to kill the kids, this is one of the best theories that I found out there.
Yes, please, I am interested in this because I am confused. Explain this movie to me, because I thought the killer had gotten ran over initially, and that's why he was pissed off.
Dun,
that was not the case.
That is the case.
No, it's not, dude.
Okay, hear me out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So Ben was mad at David because he blamed David for killing his daughter Susie. Although it was a total car freak accident. So apparently they don't show this and they don't give you a lot of information at the start of the movie, but what some fans out there theorized was when David is drinking on that cliff, Ben came down and killed him and made it look like a suicide and dumped his body off of that cliff. And then Ben walks back, so the Ray actually ran over Ben. It was Ben walking across the road. And it's him who they ran over and try to dispose of his body. Because I don't know if you remember when that scene happened, they were like, who is it? They're like, I don't know, I can't tell. And they did a quick show of the body, and his face was completely covered in blood. So you really couldn't see his face and you couldn't really tell who it was. So everyone's assuming so far that it's David, but it was really Ben. And the other thing that Julie says is that the body that they ran over had a tattoo that said Susie, and it makes sense because it would have been Ben's daughter, Susie. So the whole plot, which is to me it's kind of stupid, is that he was getting revenge because they ran him over while he was out killing David.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
No.
Okay.
So that was the best explanation that I found out there for why he was after them.
So,
Which again, he was doing a bad thing, and then he's mad that they run him over.
okay, I guess I'll allow it. But it still doesn't satisfy me.
It's not. It's not
satisfying. And this movie, I'm gonna admit it. Still, even talking through it, it fell flat for me. I had this movie in high regard. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. We're gonna do this on the podcast. What a bitchin' movie! And I don't know. I wasn't satisfied. I was like, wow, this movie didn't hold up for me. It totally missed the mark, and the plot holes and the confusion.
It was, yeah, I don't know. Like, it gave you the thrills, it gave you the runaround, but the reason
it was a poor man's Scream.
I wanted a better explanation of why he was trying to kill them.
Well, yeah, and
he was just mad at the world. His daughter was dead.
So, how your rating on this? What would you give this rating?
Are we doing out of 5?
Out of 5 stars.
A 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I would
maybe push it. No, it's 3 too far. I don't know.
Actually 2.5. I would say I would give it a 2.5.
Yeah. Wow. Although it had a big impact on you.
As a kid, I'm like, whoa, this is scary. This is intense. It is not. It wasn't. I don't know what I was thinking. But I this time
maybe
around,
3.
You give it a 3? I'd give it somewhere in between there, 2.5 and a 3 star. Would you recommend this movie to anybody?
Yes.
I would too.
Although the story fell flat and it doesn't hold. Again, it's one of those movies that's just memorable. It was a big movie when it came out in its time. Mm-hmm. It's worth a watch. Watch it at home.
Yeah. So revisiting, I would recommend this to anybody that hasn't seen it before. It can be watchable. I guess I'd watch this in 10 years from now. Like every 10 years I'd watch this. This is not a yearly watch for me. It's one of those ones, if you forget about it and you're like, oh, I'll revisit it.
It's a memorable title.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. It has all the promise in the world, but it falls flat. So IMDb, it has a strong rating of, well, I guess it's middle of the road, 5.7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Reflecting mixed opinions from viewers. And Rotten Tomatoes, the film has critics score in the lower range, indicative of mixed to negative reviews from critics.
45% when I looked it up.
But its audience score is notably higher, showing that it has retained a fondness among viewers. It does have, as far as legacy and endurance, it has a cult status. This film achieved a cult status, especially among those who grew up in the 90s, like me, or have particular affinity to the era's slasher movies. So I think that's kind of where it holds up for me. It's kind of along within that slasher resurgence in the 90s.
Don't get mad, it falls into the slasher umbrella.
No, yeah. No, absolutely. Why would I be mad at that?
Oh, no, I was just talking about the movie we reviewed last week with Scream, and I was like, I feel like there's an umbrella of slasher teen movies.
What was your rating on Scream? You gave Scream a 3 star, I think.
No.
You didn't?
I think it was a 4.
Oh, you gave it a 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, but for genre impact, again, just giving it that role in the slasher movies that were coming around and floating around in the 90s, again, like Scream. And again, it just made it very recognizable in that teen horror movies that were out at that time.
So I will say the casting in this, it elevated the movie, I think. If it was different casting, I don't think this movie would have made it.
I agree.
It wouldn't have panned out.
Yeah, because I think people nowadays, you see names like Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and they're recognizable names. So
recognizable,
like, oh,
yeah, they're movie stars.
So we're gonna
Ryan Phillippe. I'm sorry, MacGruber. He carried that movie.
So yeah, I feel like their names are the ones that kind of pull you and be like, I want to see what
I
they
do
did
think about
on their early careers.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I do think when I think of the movie, like when I think of those names, I look back and I know What You Did Last Summer is like a movie that I think about. I'm like, oh, and that's, I think, what makes me think, oh, that movie's badass. That movie's bitchin' because it does have such star power behind it.
Yeah.
Where can they follow us? To wrap this up, we got to get going.
You guys can follow us on all of our social media. So, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music,
What's our name on Instagram?
at Horror Cinema Obsession.
Okay, I'm having a hard time navigating it, so I have to ask. Our email, I do know our email, so if you want to reach out and please send us questions and observations, tell us what you think. I'm curious. I do want to know if we're doing a good job, and if you have any feedback for us, please, it's much appreciated. You can reach out to us by any of these platforms, but an email would be horrorcinemaobsession@hotmail.com.
Yeah, or recommendations for movies that
you would like
that
us
you guys
to
would
watch.
recommend.
Yeah, watch and review. That would be cool. Well, I guess until next time, we will talk to you later, and we'll let you know what movie we're covering next week.
Until then, stay cool.
Bye.